Hey guys, it's Winning Wednesday. Wait a minute, what is it? Winning
Winning
together.
Together Wednesday.
So, how have you enjoyed the show so far?
Been good.
How do you like the headphones?
I don't like them, but I
Okay,
have to have them today
and why do we have to have them today? What's
because we
different
have a
today?
special guest going to join us
Do you
today.
know this guest?
I just met him a few seconds ago.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Do you know who he is?
Oh, I know who he is. But
Tell.
no, you do the introduction.
Okay, listen, guys. Division One coaches is a big thing. I don't know very many Division One coaches personally. I can. The list is very short, and it's even shorter of Division One coaches that I can call very good friend of mine. But Heath Eslinger, Coach E, is so much more than just a winning coach. He's got over 100 victories. This guy is a role model. He is a mentor of mine. When I say mentor, I don't use that word very lightly, do I?
Oh, you do not.
So this is a guy that I take family advice from, that I take coaching advice from, and parenting advice from. So look, let's just get right into it. We're going to be right back with Heath. Roll the tape, will you? Let's do this. Get this thing going. Okay, here we go, guys. We're going to bring on the amazing and powerful Heath Eslinger. Without any further ado, bring the man on, please.
What's happening, man? Thanks so much for having me, Billy. Even more thanks to April for having me. I love the title of this, "Winning Together." In the culture we're living in right now, there's a lot of division, so I like the together part.
Well, let's go ahead and talk about that. You know, you are a family man. You are a mentor of mine, and I don't use that term lightly. How important is it to get the wife on board to go at this thing as a team? You know, you're a wrestling coach, a very decorated wrestling coach, and you've got quite the career. But I want to talk about your expertise in team building and how important is it to have the family on board and that's the purpose of this show, is to show people and try to help some people understand that this thing is a team.
Well, I think the first thing we got to address is where we are. Before we can address where we're going, we really have to be honest about where we are. It's what I love about Siri. We don't just put in where we're going. She always knows where we're at. And so she gives us an effective route to get to places. So I think the first thing we got to realize is, man, parenting's hard. Being married's hard. Running a family can be difficult. There's just so many things pulling us in different directions. But leadership is all about alignment. And when one thing's out of alignment, it create, you sell a lot of car, you move metal, Billy. And here's what we know about cars. If one tire's out of alignment and we don't deal with it, well, eventually the other three get out of alignment. And so really we're about helping families have alignment, specifically when it comes to the sport journey and how they navigate that, because the sport journey can suck us in and get us out of alignment really quick. And unfortunately, it'll spit us out somewhere that we didn't intend. We thought it was going to spit us out somewhere really good, and it spits us out somewhere different. And so really that's our mission, is to help restore the joy of sport for parents, coaches, and athletes with a better way. Obviously, I get the privilege of working with FCA Wrestling too. And that we're in that realm as well. We're here to help coaches, and our focus is coaches and how we help coaches navigate and lead their teams well.
Okay, so let's give a little bit of background here. You wrestled in college, and then, if you will, just give us a brief journey of how you got to become a Division I coach and your background, and then lead us right into what you're doing now. When you talk about what your mission is, tell us what your organization is and exactly what you do on a day-to-day basis.
All right. So it started Route 2, Box 274, McDonald, Tennessee. Then it shifted to a street address, 1399 Candies Creek Road. I grew up on a little farm in McDonald, Tennessee. It really started with my parents. My parents were unbelievable. They focused on long haul attributes. They were never concerned with athletics, academics. They were concerned with us treating people well, work ethic, respect, things like that. My brother's a pediatric dentist, so I chose athletics. He chose academics. Obviously, he probably made the right choice. But, what my parents taught us worked in both of those realms. And so I believe you got to lay a foundation at home. From there, I got to go on and compete at the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. Had a great career, was very fortunate to have some success there, got out, was a high school coach, actually served on staff at a church for a while. And then was a head high school coach at Cleveland High School. And then the Chattanooga job opened up. I got that job, very fortunate, grateful for the platform that gave me and the opportunity to just be around some incredible people and lead some phenomenal young men and create some great friendships. From there, I really felt this calling to do more. I got 2 head coaching jobs, and both times they told me good luck. And so what I realized was we have a ton of capable coaches, but oftentimes they're ill-equipped or exhausted because it's hard to be a coach. It's hard to be a parent, and it's hard to be a coach. That's why we got to be in alignment together, because if we're together, we're energizing one another and we benefit the child. So when I got out, I went to work for FCA Wrestling. Carl Perry, our national director, brought me on board, and I oversee kind of this Southeast area, but do things all around the country. If you follow FCA Wrestling, you'll see me doing Facebook Lives just like this and different things. And then my passion project was starting this company called The Better Way Athletics. I got 2 partners, Chad Pike, who was a Georgia wrestler, wrestled at NC State, a year at Chattanooga, and then Eric Phillips, who was an athletic director at Cleveland High School, now just coaching and teaching still. But we kind of had this vision to start this organization to really help parents, engage parents, and how we can help them navigate the sport journey, because we just saw so many parents, in a time where they're supposed to be enjoying being a parent and watching their kid play. I mean, they're stressed out, man. I mean, it's not even any fun, and the kids suffering, the coaches suffering, the parents suffering. And so that's really our mission. How do we help restore the joy of sport for parents, coaches, and athletes? And I believe we have a prescription to do that. And we'll talk more about that.
Okay. So, April, you really started laughing there.
Yes.
When he was talking about the parents, we should be enjoying it. So let's talk about you and me, and the sports journey we've been on. I think it's fair to say I've grown a lot.
Yes.
So, we have our oldest is 21, our youngest
14.
is 14, and they're all very avid sports players. I got it so wrong early on with our 20-year-old.
Well, and our 21-year-old doesn't play anymore because I got it really wrong.
So so you admit that you got it wrong.
Oh, I definitely got it wrong.
So tell us, April, tell us what you got wrong. What did you do that man, I wish I'd had Coach E in my.
That's actually, he taught me that. When Cooper was 8, he's our 20-year-old. When Cooper was 8, he asked to be on this travel team. And of course, at the time, he was all excited and ready to go. And then I got so excited about it and so into it, I made him go every Saturday from 8 till probably 12 or 13. And even when he didn't want to go, I was like, no, we got to go. We got to go. Because I thought he was going to play for the Atlanta Braves, I guess. So after a while, he was like, Mama, I don't want to do this anymore. And I was like, yes, you do. And I made him play, which now he either had to play or get a job. So he did choose to play a little bit in high school. But his senior year, he would have quit if it was not for me, because he has a little anxiety, and being on the field just was too much for him. And I just made him do it. And now I look back on that and think, we have a 18-year-old that would rather be on a baseball field than go to a birthday party or go. He missed prom to be on the baseball field, and he loves it. Cooper didn't, and I messed it up. I wanted it more than Cooper did.
All right, Coach. So I'm sure this is not a unique situation.
Oh man.
So based on what April's talking about there, talk to the mamas like April and give us that help us out, man. We get it wrong so many times.
And so here at one, I want to give you some grace, because one, you're not alone and you didn't mess it up. Hindsight's always 21. You know what I mean? It's so much better than what we think. And so to you, April, I want to give you some grace there. But one of the things we see with parents is, and this is a perfect demonstration of it, we call it a misapplication of love. We love our kids so much that we think, hey, I'm going to do these things at this time, and here's what it's going to produce in the future. And so many times that goes south for us. A lot of times what I do with parents, I'll give them a sponge and ask them to dip it in water. And I'll say, all right, when I start counting, wring that sponge out. And I'll start counting 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. At like 12 or 13, the sponge has no water in it. Well, then I give it to another set of parents and they dip it in the water, and I start counting 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. And then eventually the sponge is out of water. And so here's what you have to do as a parent. You have to decide how early and how hard am I going to squeeze that sponge? Because if you squeeze it too early and too hard, it has no water left in it at like 12 or 13. And that's what we're seeing. The other thing I want to address here in April, I'm granting myself permission to speak honestly and openly on this, because I think we're all here to get better. The other thing that I ask, we talk about our kids, we will say this, we'll say, man, they just have anxiety. Mm-hmm. And I do believe that's true. But sometimes I think the anxiety that we have is created and put on steroids by us, the parents and the coaches that are leading them. And so one of the things we have to do as a parent, or even as a coach, I probably struggled more as a coach than as a parent, is we can oftentimes create that anxiety because we care so much for them. We want them to do good so bad that we almost like create this anxious environment for them. And so many times just taking a step back and saying a few less things opens the door for them to experience less anxiety. I even say, people will ask me, how I deal with it with my kids. I mean, I try not to even talk about it. Like, no joke. One of my best friends is coaching my daughter. And like 4 weeks into the season, he's like, hey, how's Brooke saying volleyball's going? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't ask her about it. Volleyball's the least of my concerns in her life. Like, my job is to develop her as an individual. And if I give her the character and the foundation that's right, if volleyball's in her cards, great. If not, she'll be ready to go get a job or be a mom or whatever she chooses. And so, don't feel bad, but make sure that we're not getting one of the principles we teach at A Better Way. It's our first principle. Don't get so consumed with what matters now that you lose sight of what matters most. Generational expert Tim Elmore. I love the guy. He says this: the further out I can see, the better decision I'll make as a parent. And so if the only thing we can see is 8-year-old Little League baseball and how bad we want them to be the best, well, then we're going to have issues. And so, but if we realize we're raising them to be a productive human that can walk independently of us, we'll probably make better decisions.
Okay. So Coach, I hear what you're saying. And of course, so many of us miss the mark, but I think, no, I know what you're talking about is priorities. So I want to get in the weeds on this.
Okay.
A Division I successful coach, obviously you know how to win, and winning is important. Yet you find a way to prioritize your own children to the point that you don't really know I don't want to say you don't know what's going on with volleyball, but maybe you don't. Tell us what does that priority hierarchy look like, and how do we know when we're getting it wrong? Because I mean, I admire the fact that your number one. You tell me I don't want to put words in your mouth. What's your number one priority? How do we stick to that? And how do you know when you're getting it right?
Well, I want to rephrase this for you real quick. Winning is fun. Excellence is a priority. So winning is fun, but like there's always one more thing to win. So if winning's your priority, dude, you're going down a never ending road of nowhere. Because once you win one, I won a state title as a junior in high school. Guess what? I woke up the next morning. I had to win another one. You win a conference championship, you win an NCAA title, you win an Olympic gold medal. It's never enough. And so here's what I would say is, hey, winning is fun. No, dude, I love to win. I mean, I've been a winner in my life. I was on the first state championship team at my high school. We were super successful. I was successful as a Division I athlete. I mean, and success is relative. I had some success as a coach. I mean, winning is fun, but excellence is the priority, because here's what we know about excellence. Excellence crosses all boundaries. Listen, if your goal is to win in marriage, you're going to struggle. All right. Because you're going to be fighting all the time with another person if they want to win. I mean, it's never ending. But if excellence is the priority, well, then things work. There's alignment. And so what we have to do is, again, we have to make sure there's almost this fake sense of competitiveness out there. Parents will tell me all the time, well, we're just competitive family. I'm like, no, you're not. You're lazy. You don't eat right. You don't train. You're not competitive. You just hate losing, which makes you ultimately a baby, immature, And so to me, and I'll have parents tell me like their kid will throw their helmet and they're like, oh, he's just so competitive. I'm like, no, he's not. He's a baby and you better deal with it now because it only gets worse later. And trust me, I have to work those kinks out in my own life and family. And so when we go from outcome to process, then we start liberating ourselves to move towards something really, really special. And it lays the foundation for us to achieve at our highest potential. And so, the 10-year-old that wins in the, 10-year-old little league, I mean, that's great and all, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's Happy Gilmore, gold jacket, green jacket. Nobody cares. I mean, we've got to be preparing them for what's next. And so my deal is, hey, let's put winning in its proper place. Is it way more fun than losing? Yes. Do I like to win? Yes. Have I done countless hours of work that is crazy difficult to win? Yes, but it was excellence that was my priority. Hey, I want to be the hardest worker on the team. I want to be the best teammate. I want to show people respect. I want to win people over. I want to be a magnet, not a force field. If I do all those things, guess what I'll do? I'll probably win a lot.
So, April, we put a lot of emphasis on winning.
Yes.
Now, we don't, this is going to get complicated, but we have an expert on here to help us. We don't tolerate go ahead.
The throwing of the helmet and all of that. No, we don't tolerate that at all. I don't think that's a factor of competitiveness. The maddest I've ever been at one of my boys, they threw their helmet and he wouldn't pick it up. And I said, you can pick it up or I'm coming over there. And he knew I was serious. We don't do that. Temper tantrums don't work at our house. You don't get what you want by throwing a fit. When I see that on a field, I don't even want to be around that child. One night, Trevor was 9 years old in a dugout. I was helping him get his stuff because it was midnight. I mean, it's ridiculous when I think about it. But anyway,
it really is crazy. Like the joke's on us.
It was midnight. Now with that being said, though, that child, I could take him every single day, and that's where he would want to be. Like he goes when I don't go. I have to miss his games. He wants to play so much. That's how much he wants to play. We were 9 years old, and I was helping him get his stuff simply because he was exhausted, and I was helping him. And one of the little boys was mad, ill. It was late, and his mama came in there, and she said something to him, and he turned around and said, "Shut up and get out of here." I'm telling you, it took everything in me not to get that child, because I was like, "How dare you?" I mean, it's a sacrifice for us too, and the disrespect of that. We don't do that.
Yeah.
Disrespect us at our house and you get disrespected.
Yeah.
So, hey, let me address this one issue real quick. And so one of the things that I hear a lot, and this is one of those where we're always weighing the scales. Again, Tim Elmore, I love the guy. He talks about abandonment and abundance. Both can be equally as dangerous. So not letting your kid do anything can be bad, but also letting your kid do everything they want can be bad. And so our second principle we teach is your job as a parent is not to give your kid all the best opportunities. It's to discern what are the right opportunities. And so one of the things I hear, and I think it's a misconception and it makes things confusing for parents, is here's what they'll say. Well, we're not making our kid do it. They want to do it. And so here's the danger in that. My children, super outgoing. I mean, pretty athletic. My wife's super athletic. I wasn't a great athlete. I just had to work really hard, and I picked wrestling where you could work your way kind of to the top. But one of the things that we have to do is, just because our kids want to do it doesn't mean we should always say yes to them doing it. And so what happens is you have this little 8-year-old or 9-year-old that they want to play baseball all the time. But what we know as an adult is that hungry people continue to eat. And so you give me a person that's starving, I'll give you a person that'll eat whatever's on the dinner plate. You give me kids like mine who come home from school, snack. Then we have dinner and they're like, oh, I didn't really want that. It's because they're not hungry. And so one of the things we have to balance as a parent is always keeping our kid hungry. So even though they want to do it, I take it away at times and I force them to get hungry again, especially early on. And so, whether it be sport, academics, whatever, like there's got to be balance there where we're taking things away so that we're creating this constant hunger in them. At some point, I think it's around 14 or 15. Here's what they decide. They decide they want to go for it. But an 8-year-old's too immature to know what they're even going for. They just love the fun and the time and all that, which is good, but it can lead them to be so full that at the time we were hoping they would be good, it's not even healthy for them. There's a great, I'm working with a guy out of Canada, and his name's Matt Young with Equality Sport Hub. This guy is a genius. You would love him. Both of you guys would love him. And he talks about, like, he gives these age progressions, like 0 to 6, active start, then you go like 6 to 9, you just work on fundamentals. Here's what I truly believe. We should not keep score until a kid's 12 years old. Now understand, here's what I said. We should not keep score. Are the kids going to keep score? Yes. Let them do it. I kept score on the playground when I was in the 3rd grade, but I never had any crazy parents over there yelling at us. And so I always say this, scoreboards don't create competitive kids. They create overzealous parents. The kids will keep score. But if we don't keep score, it'll keep our mouths shut and our kids will actually have fun. So 6 to 9 fundamentals, 9 to 12, learn to train. So at 9 to 12, still not keeping score, learn to train. From 12 to 15, train to train. Like you're training to train. There's work involved in the preparation. Kids miss that today. At 15, we train to compete. At 18, we train to win. And so here's where it's backwards in our culture today. We take the 7-year-old and we're training to win. And so they miss the opportunity to learn how to train to train. And so a lot of kids, what I saw is they got to college, and when the playing field was level all of a sudden again, they didn't know how to train. And they weren't winning. So here's what they did. They got frustrated and quit. And so you said this, Billy, what are priorities? We've got to have priorities and boundaries as we go on this journey, and they have to be predetermined. If you let emotion dictate your priorities and boundaries, especially in the sports world, you will get in trouble because you'll get sucked into the rat race. So that was a long answer.
That was a good answer. April, what he's talking about is requires a lot of patience. First of all, you have to have
good word.
Yeah. First of all, you have to have the knowledge, right? So a lot of times we parents. So I want to talk to parents, coaches, and athletes today, Coach. And we're still talking to parents right now, and my eyes are opened again. I love doing these shows because if you think about the overzealous parents, 3 or 4 people just popped in your head. At 8 years old, their kids were winning.
Yes.
And
they were studs at 8 years old.
And everybody was so happy. Okay. But the process is wrong. I get it totally, because at 8 years old, let's let it have fun. And then as we get older, let's learn to train, learn the process of getting better, and then train to win when you're later in life. So if you think about the kids that even went to college playing baseball or different sports, that were winning at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 state championships. They just thought their parents, I've got the next superstar. And then when they get to that next level, the kids come home. Yeah. They come home because they're not. Well,
they don't know how to sit on the bench.
Yeah.
They've never done that.
That's true, because they didn't have the right process. Now I know, Coach, you've told me in the past that training is more important than competing at that young age. So again, we're talking to the parents. Give us some advice of what to do. We may have some 8-year-olds, some 12-year-olds who are on the wrong path. And guys, parents, listen to me. If you want to take some expert advice, it may not be your high school coach that you need to listen to, but I have a coach on here today that's more than qualified to give us some advice. So Coach, speak to that parents. We're going to talk to the coaches next, but speak to the parents about training and the process of getting better, not running all over the stage to compete.
Well, if you know what the Pareto principle is, the Pareto principle is this: it's the 80-20 rule. Spend 80% of your time on the 20% that matters the most. And so what I've done is I've kind of taken the Pareto principle and applied it to the sports world. So used to, the Olympics were every 4 years. Even in the Bible, there were the Isthmian games that were every 2 years. It's where when you see these athletic passages in the scripture, that's what it's really talking about. And so today, what's crazy is it's it's like 90-10 the other way. We spend 90% of our time playing in games and 10% preparing. And so when a kid finally has to prepare, they don't even really know how to. And so I believe this, it's the 80-20 rule. Spend 80% of your time preparing, 20% of your time competing. And if you're going to lean one way or the other, go 90% preparing, 10% competing. Here's the beauty of it. It's cheaper. Okay. It requires personal accountability. There's no prize involved. And so when you learn how to do it with no prize involved, hey, the prize is just added bonus. And so once you develop those intrinsic attributes, you're going to find a way to be excellent at whatever you're choosing to do, whether it's college athletics or it's being a Digital Ninja at, in Douglas, Georgia for Billy Merritt. You're going to know how to hustle and delay some of that gratification. And so that's the first thing. The other thing we have to be careful of is we identify talent so early now. It's like a lot of kids hold kids back today. My daughter's super young for her age. She's doing fine. Here's the reality of it. And I had a guy, I'm not letting my son wrestle till he's 10. He's in a wrestling family. He's grown up in a wrestling room. Does he know wrestling? Yes. Does he love wrestling? Yes. I'm not letting him start wrestling till he's 10. I'm not letting him compete till he's 12. Now, here's why. One, that is a hand-to-hand combat sport. Here's what I see parents do. They enter their kid into wrestling. They practice 4 days. They go to a tournament. One kid gets hammered, so he hates it and quits. The other kid wins, so he actually thinks he's good. So one kid is devastated. One kid is puffed up. It's a horrible model. And so I just believe in the preparation part of it. And so as a family, what you do is you sit down and say, hey, at what age? I have 3 boundaries. Here's the boundaries I like to focus on. One is a financial boundary. My brother, Billy, is a pediatric dentist who owns 11 offices. We don't live in the same house, not because he's better than me or I'm worse than him. We just have different budgets. You got a different budget. You got an airplane now. You didn't have that 6 years ago. All right. That's just the way it is. And so the first boundary we have to look at is a financial boundary. How much are we willing to spend? How early are we going to start spending it? I believe you wait till later to start spending money. I wouldn't spend any money really till 6th grade. All right. And then high school, you're willing to invest a little bit more because now the kid is showing this is the path they want to take. At 9 years old, you're still the one dictating. Don't spend money. All right. So financial boundary. The second boundary is a family boundary. How often are we willing to be apart and how early are we willing to start it? 6 to 12 years old is when most kids, they get their moral compass, they get their spiritual formation, they get their character attributes like 6 to 12. Well, now we spend all of our time at a little league field from 6 to 12. We're not even at home teaching those things. And so then at 14, we've missed it. They quit baseball. We try to catch up. Rules without relationship lead to rebellion, and the kid rebels. And so at that age group of 6 to 12, that's where you need to be spending time with your kids and loving on them and teaching them, hey, here's right and wrong. Here's how you respect someone. I'm not saying you can't play sports. Just don't let it rule your life. And then the third boundary I have for me personally, and this is my values, is we have a faith boundary. Listen, how often are we willing to forsake the thing that matters most to us? And how early are we willing to do that? Listen, if every week, listen, I love going to church. Church is important to me. I don't think you got to go to church to be a Christian. I think it lines up. It's like not, if you want to sell cars, you got to be around cars. But the reality of it is this: if I'm constantly forsaking the thing that matters most to me at 8 years old, if every week we're going to a little league event, I'm either telling my kid one of two things: they are God, or baseball's God, or wrestling's God, or whatever. And so the reality of it is, here's the root of it. You ready? Mm-hmm. April and Billy Merritt. Here's where we have to deal with the root issue. The root issue is not that we worship sport. The root issue in 2020 today, and I am guilty as charged. The root issue is that we worship our children. Our lives revolve around them. 40 years ago, Heath Eslinger's life, Steve and Gail Eslinger did not alter their lives for little Heath. Listen, they went on vacation where they wanted to go. We did. Like, if I would have told my dad, hey, I want to move to go wrestle at this school, he would have slapped me across the room. You ain't moving. You're an idiot. But here's why. It's a misapplication of love. Well, I just want to give little Heath his best. No, you know what I need to do? I need to give little Heath a foundation and the character attributes where he can figure out a way to make it work. And if you do that, boom, you're doing something right. And it is hard. So sorry, long answer again.
That's perfect. What were you going to say?
I'm very guilty.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we all are. Listen, I'm the chief, as Paul said, I'm the chief of all sinners, man. It's hard. But if we don't recognize it, it's like Siri. We can know where we're going, but if we're not honest about where we're starting, it's an ineffective route. And so just realize we got to start that conversation with families and ourselves to say, okay, dude, this has got to stop. You know what I mean? It's got to stop.
So, yeah, we're guilty. Now,
We have great kids, though.
We do.
Oh, we do too, man. I got great kids. And there's so many great parents and kids out there. So many better. We talk about the bad ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We need to start celebrating the good ones.
yeah, very good point. So I want to help some parents, and then we're going to move on to coaches. But this is my advice, and then I'm going to see if my advice holds up. Actually, I hope I got this advice from Coach E. If you have a child, and I'm just going to use wrestling. You want to have a good wrestler. You want to take them and you want to develop a wrestler. Maybe I think the worst thing you could do is take them in there to 4 wrestling practices for a week, and then let that coach and we're going to talk about the coaches next, talk to the coaches, help the coaches next. Don't run your kids off to a wrestling tournament to get smashed out there in front of everybody, because here's what's going on in that child's mind.
We watched that.
Oh my God, of course,
times.
everybody's watched it. Everybody who's ever been to a wrestling tournament has watched it. You're not helping your kid if you take them out there and get them smashed and, they just got to deal with it. They got to take their lumps. Yeah, they're going to take their lumps. They can take their lumps after they're a very, very good wrestler, after they know some fundamentals, after they know what they're doing. So I think we may be hurting our children if we take them out there, get them smashed earlier, get them devastated, because here's what I think we fail to realize. And actually, Tim McCarn woke me up to this and spoke to my spirit coach about this. When a kid runs in the house with mud on his shoes, he's doing something important. So he's not necessarily sure. He maybe shouldn't be in there with mud on his shoes, and so. But their priorities are different, and we have to develop them, not be a dictator to them all the time. Okay, so you take that child out there, his spirit is crushed when he gets crushed by somebody. And parent, you just put him out there with a little murderer over there that's he's been wrestling for 4 years. So anyway, coach, is my advice on point, or did I miss the mark?
No. And here there's 2 sides of that. I call it the intersection of success and struggle. It's where the learning takes place. So there's 2 sides of that. So there's the kid that we throw in too early that just the struggle is so much they bow out. Well, it was too much for an 8-year-old. Like, you threw them in and they weren't prepared. But then on the other hand, we talked about this earlier, you have the 8-year-old phenom where you throw him in and, he's 11 months older. So he's in a different, he's really almost 9. Everyone else is 8. Malcolm Gladwell talks about that in his book Outliers, about the Canadian hockey players, being almost a year older. So they get all the advantages. And so that kid has tons of success. And so 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old, 11 years old, 12 years old, this kid's just crushing it. 13, everyone else hits puberty too. And then all of a sudden, for the first time, there's a struggle. Well, they've never had to deal with that. And so parenting, it's all about balancing success and struggle. There's a great, there's a movement out there that says we have to teach our kids to fail. That's bull. All right. I'm not going to teach my kids how to fail. First of all, they already know how to. America knows how to fail. Did anyone watch TV last night? We're on the, we ain't doing too good. All right. And so here's the deal. The goal is not to teach our kids to fail. the goal is to allow them to struggle so they create the resiliency to overcome these intersections where failure could be an option, but they stare it in the face and say, I will press on. And so the goal is not to teach a kid to fail. The goal is to give them the opportunities to struggle. You don't even have to create them. Life will give you opportunities to struggle. What we have to do as parents is, in those moments where it's so hard, we have to take a step back and say, the struggle now, the struggle at 8 pales in comparison to the struggle at 18. I'm going to let them navigate this, and it's going to create strength and resiliency and hope and character and all these different things in them. But here's the deal, parents, for all of you out there listening, and for April and Billy Merritt, and for Heath and Brandy Eslinger, it is tough to do. It's tough to do, but I'm telling you, it's worth it. An 8-year-old struggle has an 8-year-old consequence. A 22-year-old struggle has a 22-year-old consequence. Let them build that resiliency tank earlier, because it's a natural progression.
Yeah, we could talk to parents and help parents all day long. We're going to try to keep this thing within an hour. So I want to move on to one of your favorite subjects.
Ooh.
Okay. Coaches.
Yes.
Now, first of all, let me say thank you to every coach who sacrifices their time to spend with our kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that is a sacrifice. I got a little taste of it again last weekend,
Yes.
sacrificing and coaching and dealing with the parents that we were just talking about. But so it is a sacrifice. Thank you to all the parents, but coaches, you can get it wrong sometimes too. So, we still, it's the coach parent relationship. We've gotten it wrong there before.
Yes, we have.
With dealing with coaches. Make sure you stay close right here. So what's some things that you've dealt with that's really hard to deal with when it comes to coaches?
Probably the hardest thing for me was this. One of the hardest was this summer. You talked about waiting to spend money and that kind of thing. For a long time, we didn't have any money. We're very open about that. So Trev didn't get to be on the travel team and all of those things. He played weekends just here and there, but never a true invest tons of money, be on this team thing. We just couldn't afford it. So I told him last summer we could finally afford to do that. He was an upcoming senior. So we did join a team that was supposed to be one of the better teams, whatever. So we pay lots of money, won't even say how much, buy the uniform, we go. And I'm not the mom that says he's a good athlete just to say he's a good athlete. T he did deserve to be on the field. You can say that as well.
Okay. Hey, can I call a timeout real quick?
Absolutely.
Sure.
Bring it on.
So here's a challenge for you. All right. And I use this in coaching. I never used the word deserve. I always said we've earned the right to be in the conversation to get on the field. We've earned that right, because deserves a word that, man, I don't know that I deserve anything. But what I've done and what your son has done is he's earned the right for the opportunity. All right, go ahead. But I always replace the word deserve with earn.
Okay. Well, he earned the right over years.
Okay.
Well, and so that's important. That's why I love having people on here. Is this language is so important, and it helps us. It helps us deal with situations better if we're using the right term. So yeah.
Here's what I'll say to that. Deserve will create entitlement. Mm-hmm. Earn will create confidence.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so that's why I use that wording. Go, April, you're up. Sorry, you got 2 loudmouths on here with you.
Yeah, I'm used to one. Now I have 2. Anyway, we went for 4 straight weekends, 3 days, very expensive trips. We're talking about Panama City, Alabama, all these places. T never saw the field. Never saw it. Didn't even get a chance to see it, except run the bases or something. And it was very hard for me. Very hard for me. And yes, you did talk me down a few times. I didn't say anything to the coach. I told Trevor we were there until he didn't want to be there anymore. And he was like, Mama, I'm going to do it. I'm going to somehow show them that I can do this. And that's what happened after about 5 weeks.
All right. So let this loudmouth talk a little bit. And I think that I did, because I get it, man, she's normally the one helping me stay on the right track. But but I've had the benefit of talking to Coach E a lot. And so I do, when I have someone who's an expert, I try to listen to that person, and I'm better at being less emotional. Right. So
when it comes to our children,
yeah,
yes.
I'm better at
I'm not good at that.
I'm better at letting them struggle than you are.
Yes.
Right. And I'm like, look, this is, if he is who we say he is, they're going to figure it out, and he's going to be better because of it. And as a matter of fact, I said, Trevor, this will be good for you having to deal with this.
Well, honestly, he didn't know how to sit on a bench. If you want to know the truth, he's never had to do that.
He's never been there for sure. But, and this is about parents, but the coaching is what I was trying to get to there. Now, coaches, and Coach E is he enlightened me to this, because there's just like 15 parents, somebody sitting on the bench.
Yeah.
And coaches, their job, this is what's so hard for all 15 parents to understand. Their job is not to make the right decision. Now, I only know this.
Love it.
Because I spent time with Coach E. All right. Now tell us, Coach, what you mean by, or what I mean by, it's not the coach's job to make the right decision.
Okay, so this is awesome. I've actually wanted to do a Facebook Live on this subject right here, and so you've pushed me. So a coach's job is not to make all the right decisions, because what's right for the Merritts is completely opposite of what's right for the Eslingers, because we both think our kid has earned the opportunity to play. And so the coach's job is to make the best decision they can with the information that's currently available. Now, what we do as a parent, we grade our coach on new information. Well, hey, that kid struck out. Well, my kid wouldn't have struck out. Well, you got new information. What if that kid would have hit a home run? Would you have said, well, my kid deserves to be benched? You know what I mean? And so again, here's why it's hard. I have dealt with this year, even with my own child. And here's what's crazy. I've actually loved it, because it's been like a petri dish for what I know is best for children and families. I know this. Here's the hard part when it comes to parenting. In the coaching world, when you have two kids that are similar, it's a game of inches. And when it's a game of inches, the coach can flip a coin. I mean, like, dude, he can start whoever he wants to, or she can start whoever they want to. And so with my daughter this year, here's what I said. It's a game of inches. If you want the job, get a foot ahead. If it's a game of inches, your coach is making the decision based on microscopic evidence. I'm going to support whatever they do. If you really want the job, take it from inches to a foot to 10 yards to a mile. And then it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Here's the hard part for a parent, though. You ready? Oh, it's so deep. So stinking hard. April, I just wish I could give you a hug, because I know how hard it is, man. And that's why you call it winning together. You talk each other off the cliff.
Yeah.
So here's the hard part for a parent. If you've ever gone fishing, all right, back before iPhones where the evidence was there immediately, you go fishing, you catch this fish. By the time you get back with your buddies, by 11 o'clock that night, that fish goes from here. My fish was this big. All right. Here's the hard part for parents. Oftentimes what happens as a parent is I see my own child's inch as a mile, because I'm looking at it through my lens only. The other parent sees their kid's inch as a mile, because they're looking at it through their lens only. The coach, all he sees is microscopic difference. And so my challenge is this. I'm rereading a book called QBQ by a guy named John Miller. It's all about personal accountability. Billy, April, get the book. This guy's a rock star. It's an easy read. And here's what he says. We got to start asking the right questions. And so the question here is not, why is my kid not starting, but what can we learn from this situation? Here's my challenge to you guys, because what you said is he has actually worked his way onto the field. He has learned more through this situation that was more difficult for you than it was for him, than had he have just been given the starting spot. So what we do is we celebrate these things, but what we have to do is we have to check ourselves at times in the midst of it. And so, man, what a great story. Kudos to him.
Yeah.
For just doing the work.
Yeah.
And so to Coach's point, hindsight's always 21, right? So I'm so excited and so glad that it happened the way it did. Now, it was not fun in the moment. It was not fun dealing with my emotions, his emotions, your emotions.
And he did have some emotions. He's just saying it was just all me.
Yeah, of course I did. But no, I knew that. Well, I had this theory. See, there's a thing called faith, and faith is not, you can't call it faith if there's no fear to deal with, or if there's no difficulty. So, I had faith that he was definitely should be, out there. And I had faith, but it's not faith unless we really put that out there to be tested. Right. So, and 100%, I'm certain he's better off because of it. Yeah, so
I agree.
So let's address the coaches real quick.
Yeah. Thank you.
So one of the reasons we have these issues is coaches don't communicate the right things, and we don't even know what our programs are about. Yeah, it's a travel team, whatever, but there's no communication with the parents. Like, hey, here's the expectations. Here's what's going on. My daughter was on a team last year, and like, it wasn't very good. I mean, it was too expensive. It wasn't very good. And it just happened to be that way. And fortunately, I know the people, and we, they were like, hey, give us some feedback, and I wasn't looking at it from my daughter's lens. I'm looking at it from an organization lens. And I'm like, listen, you have to make sure you're managing expectations correctly. If you say it's elite level and you're asking for big money, then it needs to be elite level and big money. If you're saying, hey, we're here to just develop, every player on the team, well, as long as I know that, I don't care.
And that's, that's where the problem was. I was led to believe that they were this crazy elite, holy cow, going to be seen by everybody team. And that wasn't the case. And the ones playing above him that, of course, their parents think they earned the right to, were not as good. I mean, they really were not. And that was what was hard for me, was I paid all this money. But then we also, talking about coaches, I found out after about 5 weeks that the person deciding who was playing was the owners of the team that didn't know my child at all. He didn't, if he walked up to him and shook his hand, he took my thousands of dollars, but he didn't even know T. He didn't know where T played. He didn't know anything about him. So we went through those 4 or 5 weeks, not really because of the people on the field, a man that sits in his house.
So let's talk to the coaches. Coach E, give us some real advice that these high school coaches and that these travel coaches, that they need to make sure they get right because they have a hard job of dealing with the parents and the kids. So give the coaches some real advice they can use.
Well, one, it starts at the top. The organizations have to know what they believe and what they're about. I mean, I would just say that's a bad system in place, whatever that was. And it's not because they're bad people. Again, Matt Young with Quality Sport Hub, he's out of Canada. I hope you guys will meet him someday. He's created an entire infrastructure for sport organizations to operate by. It's a system. And what the system does is it protects you from making these mistakes. Because now, again, the coach isn't making emotional decisions. Hey, here's how we operate. And here's what we do. And here's how we hold people accountable. Here's how we measure our success. And so we just don't have it. Unfortunately, in the sports world today, we have so many kids playing sports. We are just desperate for coaches. We have no training for them. We don't equip them. We don't help them. We don't encourage them. And so it's just a disaster. And so until we get some infrastructures in place, and it's what I'm passionate about for coaches and parents and youth sport organizations and governing bodies and schools and educational institutions, until we get those in place, here's the deal. A problem without a prescription remains a problem. And if you're not willing to offer a prescription, then stop complaining about the problem.
Right.
And so at some point, and that's what A Better Way Athletics, that's what FCA Wrestling, that's what Quality Sport Hub, we're all about. Here's a prescription that can help. Are there still, listen, we have the greatest medicine in the world. We still have a pandemic right now. Now, there's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts on that right now. But listen, there's always going to be sick people because we live in a fallen world. But prescriptions do help, man. If I get sick, I'm going to take some amoxicillin or whatever because I want to get better. It's not going to prevent every issue, but we can help alleviate a lot of these issues that the Merritts are facing if we have the right infrastructure in place. And then we're teaching our coaches to communicate. And coaches have to be willing to communicate. If people are paying thousands of dollars to do something, they deserve because they've paid. They've earned the right for you to communicate with them in a fair, in a fair way. It's not saying they should talk to you every day, but you should know what's going on and what the expectations are. So, but we have nothing out there. I mean, it's just kind of like, hey, let's throw some paint on the wall. Listen, you guys, with what you've done with the Digin Ninjas, listen, you have a system, man. Here's how this thing works. And guess what? It works. It works in Texas. It works in Maine. It works in Florida. It works in Georgia. It works here because you have a system. What we believe is we have access to an infrastructure that'll work in Douglas, Georgia, or British Columbia, Canada. But people got to buy in, and we got to get it into the hands of people.
All right. So thank you. You're right. We do have the reason that for our massive success in the car business is because we do have a system. We have training. Now, you have training, right? Do
Yes.
you offer training? Tell us what you offer training specifically for coaches. Is that right? How can they get it, and tell us what it involves? Because I mean, thank you for giving us this time, but let's tell people how they can get more and how you can help them.
Well, we offer a virtual training platform for coaches and parents, and really we have 3 lanes we run in, Billy and April. We work in educational institutions. So, hey, Douglas County High School, we'll hand you an infrastructure to help you with your parents and coaches in Douglas County. It's actually all online. Now, can we do live stuff? Absolutely. That's what I love. But here's the deal. We've got to give them access on this little thing right here that's holding us captive right now, because that's what they're looking at. And so we've created an online virtual training platform for parents and coaches, immediate access 24/7. So our first lane, educational institutions, public schools, private schools, whatever. Second lane, sport organizations, youth sport, clubs, the baseball stuff that you're talking about. It's needed, very much needed. So any sort of organization like that, we can come in and boom, we provide you an infrastructure to help your parents, coaches, and athletes. The other one is governing bodies, USA Wrestling, USA Volleyball, big, huge organizations. I was in Orlando a few weeks ago talking to the president of AAU. We provide an infrastructure to help engage. I've been challenged to use the word engage, not train or educate, to engage the parent and the coach and begin a conversation to help restore the joy of sport for all 3 parties involved. They can go to abetterwayathletics.com. They can email me. They can follow us on social media. They can go to Spotify and iTunes, get to our podcast. They can go to FCA Wrestling and find me. Here's my passion. I want to help families do it better. You're looking at a guy who's trying, and it's still hard. It's still hard, man. Being married, marriage is tough. Raising kids is tough. If we're fighting against each other, this ship is sinking. Look at last night, man. I mean, we got a presidential debate and we got 2 middle school girls up there yelling back and forth at each other. We ain't going to get nowhere if we keep doing that.
Yeah, for real.
And so we got to help people. That's my passion.
Okay. So April, he's very passionate. Coach, he is very, very passionate. So let me ask you a question. Do you think that we live in Douglas, Georgia, Coffee County? Do you think that the Coffee County school system, athletic department, parents, and athletes could benefit from an infrastructure developed by not just Coach E, who's massively successful, Division I coach, mentor, coach to coaches, and his other? Do you think that our local parents, organizations, and athletes could benefit from his training?
Absolutely.
So do you think that our county, there's thousands of counties, do you think that the entire country could benefit from an infrastructure with that type of training, this type of good information?
Absolutely.
Do you think the information he's given us is generic or specifically really good information?
Oh, I think it's very specific and great information.
Okay.
We're all worried about ourselves, and this training would make us see everybody.
So
I mean, that's just the way it is. We're worried about our children.
Yeah.
I tag people in our local school system, and and actually our CCA, the private school system. I challenge you guys to go to heatheslinger.com and get some more information and see how he can and his infrastructure can help you. We all need to make our place, our local areas better. Coach, I believe that, and April agrees with me. If we want to change the world, what do we do?
You got to go home and love your family.
I think Coach E.
I love it, man. I love it.
And then next, you got to get in the community and see what you can do. Volunteer to coach, get some good information and share it with someone. And then, as an entrepreneurs, we get to help those people that work for us and hopefully help them. Coach, the most important people I think in this dynamic we haven't talked about yet, and that's the athletes themselves. Now, I've got some athletes that are watching now, and we're going to have thousands of people watch this. You know, some people can't watch right at 11 to 12, but I always get feedback from people who watched it on after the live stream. So I know I've got some young kids, and here's my passion, Coach. I want these young athletes I want to help them any way I can. I love helping them financially and giving them a way to learn that they can do anything they want to, and that they have, they can look at my story where born poor, mobile home, and we've done great and amazing things with the grace and the opportunity that's been given to us. But I want to help these kids, and they're going to watch. They're watch because I have made an impact on some young people, and they do look up to me. So I want you to talk to these young athletes that are going to watch this and give them some advice that can help them in sports and in life, because you are the FCA director, I believe. So I'm sure you're qualified to give us some information here too.
Well, it's funny, Billy, you said that. We were talking in one of our FCA meetings the other day. A coach said, "Hey, will you come talk to my team? Will you come talk to my team?" And the guy looked back at him and said, "No, I'm going to come talk to you." Because here's the deal. When we go home and love our family well, and coaches are leading well, dude, the athletes are in a great position, But here's what I would challenge the athletes with. And as I look back on my career, as I look back on the athletes I've coached, here's what I've determined. Couple of things. One, we have this crazy, insane desire to teach people to be leaders. All right. You got to be a leader. We're telling third graders, you got to be a leader. You got to be a leader. Eighth graders, you got to be a leader. You got to be a leader. Here's what we've forgotten. We've forgotten to teach them to be a follower.
Okay.
Leadership starts with followership. And so we've got to teach our kids, one, what are you after? Who has done it? How are you going to follow them? It's a spiritual principle. What did Jesus say? He said 2 words to everyone: follow me. Hey, hang out with me. You'll learn the principles you need to learn. You'll understand what life really is. It's not about you. And so the first thing is, pick the people you follow carefully. Make sure it aligns with what you say you want to do. Here's the second thing. We love talking about doing. I hear coaches all the time say, "Hey, what are you doing to get better? What are you doing to get better?" I hear athletes say, "Here's what we're doing to get better." Here's what I've discovered, Billy and April Merritt. What we're doing normally doesn't separate us from the pack. It's what we're willing to deny that's been weighing us down that separates us from the pack. Here's the deal. I can train for a mile. I can show up to break a personal record in the mile run. I can train. I can do all the work. But if I show up with a backpack on full of bricks, I'm not setting a PR, because the backpack's going to weigh me down. Here's what I see in our culture today. And again, it's so true of me. So true of me. Is that many times it's not my lack of doing that's preventing me from being successful. It's my unwillingness to deny the things that are weighing me down. And so for every athlete out there, here's what I want to tell you. Anytime you walk into a room, don't just let your friends pick you. Strategically pick your friends. Surround yourself with people that are wanting to go and represent and be the same kind of person you want to be, and then follow them. Pick someone that's been great. I've tried to do that my whole life. This morning, I'm on a call with Jim Harshaw, who's done some really cool things. And, I'm following him. I'm mimicking some of the things. Listen, I'm watching this going, hey, I got to call Billy and figure out how to do some of these things. I don't have to create the wheel. Listen, I'm going to follow somebody who's done it. Well, if I do that long enough, people are going to start considering me a leader because I'm crushing it. It's crazy. Leadership starts with correct followership. Greatness comes not only through doing, it comes through denying. And so for you out there, go into the room, pick the people you should follow that align with you. Be willing to say no to the things that distract you and weigh you down. Here's what I want to say to every young person. It's really every adult. We're the same way. We live in a world of distraction. I am guilty. I'm ADD in high definition. You and I joke, Billy, we work in the moment. I told you the other day, you better send me a reminder, because once you invited me on the show, 5 minutes later, I forgot you invited me because I'm on to the next thing. My wife says I'm a rat on acid. And so the reality, I hear you giggling, but the reality of it is we've got to learn to deny some things that are weighing us down. I just took all social media off my phone about 3 months ago. It has liberated. I took my emails off my phone because what I was doing is I was looking at it, but I wasn't utilizing it correctly. And so now when I sit down to look at emails, I look at them, I check them, I respond. Now, not everyone has that luxury, but that's the way I operate better. So I deny it in the moment so that I can accomplish it for real. And so to be a great athlete, it's not just about doing. You've got to deny things. When I look at guys like Kyle Snyder, Jordan Burroughs, some of the greats, dude, those guys are denying some really enticing things in order to pursue something that's really, really special. And so I know it's hard to be a 16-year-old boy or girl in the culture today. Choose to be different. Choose to swim upstream. Last thing, I'm done. Here's the danger with the stream. You ready? When we stop swimming upstream, the further you go downstream, the swifter the current and the more dangerous the rapids. And the most tragic thing in our society today is how many times we're seeing a kid just get swept away. And a lot of times the parents, I don't want to say they're to blame, but because we've neglected some things that really matter, our kids have got caught in this stream. And so for every parent out there, man, we're not talking at you, we're talking with you. Man, I pray for parents. Man, if you're out there, you're a praying person, pray for the Eslingers because, dude, we got issues. But here's what I do want. I want to do it well. And I want my kids to look back and go, my parents were very imperfect, but man, they really put a great effort in. So appreciate you guys.
Hey, thank you so much for coming on. Guys, let me tell you something. We bring some very talented people on here. And today, I want to thank Coach E for taking the time and sacrificing his time right there at the end. Being a follower, that's something that I haven't thought about quite like that.
Neither.
To be a great leader, you must be a good follower, but it's very important
to follow the right people.
Right. So, Coach, thank you so much for sacrificing your time. Young people, it's not about what you do. It's about what you're willing to give up. If you want to be great, what are you willing to give up to be great? This hour has flown by. Thank you so much, Coach Eslinger. I am very grateful and thankful for you for taking the time to spend with us today.
Thank you. So nice to meet you.
Oh, great to meet you. Hopefully I'll get down there soon. Hey, I want to go jump in that pool I keep seeing. April Merritt, great job on that.
Oh, thank you.
All right, guys, there you have it. It's another show in the books. What a great show. Please rewind it. Get your child to watch this. Parents, you may not be the reason kids are failing, but you can be the reason they make it. Absolutely. And that's what I want to do. I want to be great. I want to be. Hey, you can use it, man.
Hey, I'll steal it. First time I'll give you credit. Next time it's mine.
Okay. All right, guys. We're gonna. Hey, Grant Cardone is on right now, and Elena's on there too. 12 o'clock. If you want to jump over there and watch him. In the meantime, we're going to wrap it up right here, and we're going to be back next Wednesday for another Winning Together. We'll see you next week, guys.